Wait. Wait. Get back. You can't grab me like that. You can't grab me like that.
Okay.
Hey, wait. That's not how you arrest people.
Get on the ground.
That's not how you arrest people.
Get on the ground. Now, on the ground.
All right, but you're not
On the ground.
All right, hold on. All right. Hey, what you guys doing? That's not how you arrest people. If y'all gonna arrest people, y'all gotta arrest people regular. What y'all doing, bro? Hey, Kevin, no resiste. Yeah, no resiste. What am I doing?
Hey guys,
Hey.
wow. Imagine this, you're asleep, your dog shifts at your feet, and your apartment vibrates with a pounding so hard it rattles the picture frames. It's 5:04 a.m. You stagger to the door, shirt halfway on, only to find three figures in dark vests pointing flashlights in your eyes. Immigration enforcement. Step outside. You laugh. Or try to, because there's no way this is for you. You're a citizen, born in New Jersey, voted last November, but they're not listening. You're in cuffs before the coffee maker blinks awake. This wasn't supposed to happen. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Drop a comment with your city and local time. I want to know where you are as we journey through today's story together, and let's go on the journey of today's story together. You ride in silence. ICE agents scroll on their phones. One mumbles about the Mets game. Another hums. You're not even sure what name they've got on the paperwork. All you know is they're certain you match a record in the Enforcement and Removal Operations Database, a system notorious for its inconsistencies. Your hands are zip-tied. Your breath fogs the van window. You try to ask a question. Someone tells you to save it for the station. According to ICE.gov, arrests like these are standard protocol, targeted enforcement based on biometric data and documented orders of removal. But what if that biometric data is just a near match? What if the target is a glitch? A 2024 audit, ProPublica, found that up to 3% of ICE detentions over the past year were based on mistaken identity. That's not small when ICE made over 170,000 administrative arrests. The mistake can start with a typo, a duplicate name, a mislinked birth date. And once the machine starts, it doesn't stop until someone outside yanks the plug. And if you think this doesn't happen to citizens, think again. In a 2023 case, a black veteran in Mississippi was arrested by ICE agents and detained for 10 days before they realized he was a citizen. 10 days. 10 days he'll never forget. You're still in holding, knees pressed to cold concrete, wondering how many phone calls it takes for someone to admit a mistake. But no one's calling. No lawyer, no apology. The officer who took your wallet didn't even glance at your ID. "We have our orders," she said. And it's in that sentence, the quiet, bureaucratic chill of it, that the problem begins. This isn't a rare case of government error. This is infrastructure. ICE's data pipelines run from hundreds of sources. DMV databases, police departments, the National Crime Information Center, NCIC, even social media surveillance in some cases. According to the Marshall Project, many of these feeds are riddled with outdated or mismatched profiles. In one recent report, ICE agents were found using LexisNexis, a private database not designed for law enforcement, as a primary tool to track and detain undocumented individuals. Cross-reference that with a common name, like David Johnson or Maria Garcia, and the algorithm doesn't distinguish between a U.S. citizen and someone with an old immigration warrant. And once flagged, you're in the system. ICE's case prioritization matrix, updated in 2022, encourages agents to act on the highest perceived threat, even if confirmation is incomplete. Worse, local law enforcement is often roped into these raids through the 287G agreements, allowing county sheriffs to serve as de facto immigration officers. In Tennessee's Rutherford County, a 2024 NPR expose revealed at least 17 wrongful arrests linked to these local ICE collaborations. 17 Americans, detained without a trial, held without charge. You've probably heard ICE talk about targeted enforcement or national security. But the truth is, their own records show more than 60% of arrests involve people with no criminal history at all. Many of these cases are collateral, meaning the person wasn't the target of the raid, just someone who happened to be in the room. Wrong place, wrong skin tone, wrong guess. And what's worse, There's no federal mandate requiring ICE to compensate or even apologize for wrongful detention, not even a written acknowledgement. Just, you're free to go, as if freedom wasn't the very thing they just stole from you. You sit in a small processing room, fingers trembling as you replay every detail of your birth certificate in your head. You're not the first. Meet David Rock, a name that should have never been in ICE custody. Born in Detroit, high school varsity track, U.S. passport since age 12. In 2023, David was stopped while driving to work. Officers claimed there was an open ICE detainer. He laughed. He showed them his ID, but the van was already waiting. David's story hit The Guardian after a civil rights attorney stepped in, outraged by the timeline. 72 hours in a private facility before anyone reviewed his documentation. An administrative glitch flagged him as an overstayed visa holder. The ICE system had confused him with a Venezuelan man, same last name, similar birthday, different middle name. No fingerprints matched, no warrant. Yet the agent still wrote foreign national in his intake form. You want to know what ICE said? We regret the inconvenience. That's it. No press conference. No internal review. Just a shrug from a bureaucracy too big to bend. While David was locked in a converted shipping container at the Otay Mesa Detention Center, his family couldn't locate him. The ICE detainee locator didn't recognize his social security number. When his sister finally found him 3 days in, she had to bring a lawyer and 3 notarized documents just to get a meeting. Meanwhile, David missed work, lost his apartment, and came out physically ill from the stress and sleep deprivation. A piece in Wired from January 2024 revealed a disturbing reality. The biometric systems ICE uses, like ident and NGI, aren't built to flag false positives. Once you're matched in their system, the burden of proof is on you. Not them. You must prove you are who you've always been, and that's the cruel irony. In America, the only country you've known, your identity becomes a courtroom debate. David filed suit last fall. ICE filed to dismiss it. By now, you might be thinking, sure, mistakes happen, but how often? That's where the data comes in, and it doesn't let ICE off the hook. According to Track Immigration at Syracuse University, more than 22,000 people were held in ICE custody in 2024 without any criminal charges filed against them. Of these, approximately 5% were later released after verification of legal status, including U.S. citizens. That's over 1,000 Americans detained by their own government for nothing more than sharing a name or living in the wrong zip code. The system's failure isn't just about a glitchy database, it's how those databases are used. ICE relies heavily on predictive algorithms, facial recognition, and data sharing agreements with third-party aggregators. These sources don't adhere to law enforcement standards and are riddled with gaps. One ICE memo, leaked via The Intercept, noted that over 30% of arrest leads are generated without primary identity confirmation. That means agents are showing up at doors with nothing more than a hunch. And here's where it gets weirder. In early 2025, Reuters uncovered that ICE used a DMV photo from Oregon obtained without consent, matched with an old school yearbook photo to justify a raid. That person? A DACA recipient who had already gone through 2 background checks. They weren't even on ICE's removal priority list. There's more. The American Civil Liberties Union, ACLU, published findings in April showing that ICE failed to correct erroneous detainers in at least 127 cases across 6 states in 2023. Even when notified of the error by local law enforcement, ICE refused to rescind the orders, sometimes for days, other times for weeks. One sheriff, speaking anonymously to Cal Matters, described it as a wall of silence. It's easy to assume the agency is targeting dangerous criminals, but internal data tells a different story. In fact, more than half of ICE's 2024 arrests were what the agency classifies as non-priority. That's a bureaucratic way of saying they were just there. Remember David? His case was labeled low concern. But that didn't stop ICE from chaining him to a bench for 6 hours. So here we are, the hard question. Is it ever acceptable for a country to accidentally imprison its own citizens in the name of security? Some shrug. Collateral damage, they say. Unfortunate, but necessary. But ask someone like David Roque, and you'll get a different answer, one that stings deeper than policy ever could. You stand now in a courtroom, not for something you did, but to prove who you are. A judge stares at you. The ICE agent beside you flips through a manila folder, avoiding eye contact. Your lawyer calls it unlawful detention. ICE calls it standard protocol. And it's here in the space between those two definitions that liberty buckles. Let's weigh both sides. On one hand, the Department of Homeland Security defends ICE's broad authority by citing public safety. They argue that enforcement must be efficient and unrelenting to deter unauthorized immigration. Mistakes, they claim, are unfortunate byproducts of a massive system tasked with an impossible job. After all, the same infrastructure flagged over 140,000 high-risk targets in 2024 alone, including drug traffickers and cartel members. But here's the flip side. Civil rights groups like the National Immigrant Justice Center argue that security shouldn't come at the cost of human dignity. In their May 2025 report, they documented 43 instances where ICE agents bypassed proper identification procedures during raids actions that led to the wrongful arrest of U.S. citizens and legal residents. One of the most chilling accounts involved a child in San Antonio watching his father, a U.S. Navy veteran, taken at gunpoint because ICE had flagged a 15-year-old misdemeanor that wasn't even his. The irony? Under U.S. law, a citizen wrongly detained by ICE has almost no legal pathway for restitution, no guaranteed right to sue, no automatic expungement of ICE's internal notes. You walk out with your freedom, sure, but your name might still sit in a government database marked questionable. The ethical debate isn't abstract anymore. It's stitched into your hands, where the zip tie marks haven't fully faded. It's in the disbelief on your neighbor's face when you tell them where you were last weekend. And it's in your voice, trembling as you ask, what if they come back? You're finally released. No apology, no explanation. Just a guard mumbling, "You're good," as they hand you back a plastic bag with your phone, keys, and a crumpled passport. It's 3:22 a.m. Your missed calls blink like strobe lights. You dial your sister, she sobs, but something else breaks before she picks up. Your sense of safety. David's story doesn't end with freedom. After he was mistakenly detained by ICE, his employer, a courier company in Dearborn, placed him on indefinite leave. Security review, they called it. His landlord, worried about legal exposure, asked him to vacate. Even his gym canceled his membership after rumors swirled. Innocent, yet stained. This is the real toll of wrongful ICE detention, the psychological and social shrapnel left behind. According to a 2024 study from the Migration Policy Institute, over 67% of those wrongly detained experienced secondary trauma anxiety, depression, night terrors. Many reported losing jobs, housing, and social trust within their communities. Why? Because being detained by ICE carries stigma, no matter the paperwork you show later. David's case also sheds light on family ripple effects. His teenage daughter Sophia stopped attending school for a month. "I thought they'd come for me next," she told a local Detroit reporter. ICE never knocked again, but the fear lived on in every slammed door and passing siren. And what about financial fallout? There's no formal restitution for being wrongfully arrested by ICE. David paid $4,300 in legal fees and another $2,000 in missed wages and transportation costs. His family GoFundMe barely scratched the surface. Most victims don't even file complaints, too scared, too tired, too disillusioned. Meanwhile, ICE has yet to update its system to prevent similar errors. The same name-match logic still runs the raids. And internal watchdogs? Toothless. The DHS Office for Civil Rights and Civil Liberties received over 700 complaints related to ICE actions in 2023. Only 11 resulted in action. But maybe what cuts deepest is this. When you tell someone you were arrested by ICE, they ask what you did, not what they got wrong. You wake up weeks later, still flinching when your doorbell rings. The documents you carry now aren't souvenirs, they're armor. Birth certificate, social security card, notarized affidavit of citizenship, all in a waterproof pouch. That's the new normal. Because once the system mistakes you for someone else, it doesn't forget. Neither do you. Here's the part no one talks about, how citizenship feels after it's been questioned. You used to trust the system, the flag, the anthem. Maybe you even sang along at ball games. But now it's different. Now you know how easy it is to disappear. David Roque, reflecting on his ICE detention, told the New York Times in January 2025, "I thought citizenship meant I was safe. Turns out it just means they have to release me, eventually." That eventually cost him everything, and it forced him and now you to rethink what liberty means in the United States. When your identity becomes negotiable, so does your dignity. The very premise of American freedom rests on the assumption that the government knows who you are and cares. But ICE's machinery, designed for removal, doesn't pause to ask questions. It only executes. This systemic blindness isn't accidental, it's embedded. In the way ICE's databases fail to interface with the Department of State's passport system, in the lack of real-time alerts to prevent duplicative detainers, in the fact that there is still no dedicated internal unit within ICE tasked with confirming citizenship before detention. It's all action, no reflection. The philosophy behind enforcement becomes evident. It's not about protecting citizens, it's about controlling bodies. Brown ones, foreign-sounding ones, or just unlucky ones. You weren't profiled because you were guilty, you were profiled because you could be. That could was enough to chain you to a bench and strip your name of meaning. And the worst part? No one blinked. Not your local representative, not your mayor. Because the fear of being seen as soft on immigration still outweighs the courage to defend due process. The scariest part isn't the moment ICE knocks, it's the silence afterward. The long, hollow quiet where nothing happens, no statement, no correction, no headline unless a journalist digs. Your name becomes a ghost in their system, and your story, if not told, just vanishes. But here's the thing. Someone needs to say it out loud. Say his name. David Roque. Say the names of all the others wrongfully arrested men, women, children because someone at a terminal hit enter without double checking. If we don't say their names, the next mistaken arrest becomes just another digit in a spreadsheet. Your power right now isn't an outrage, it's an amplification. You can share this story. You can demand transparency from your local officials. You can ask your sheriff whether they've signed a 287G agreement. You can email your representative and ask why ICE isn't required to verify citizenship before detaining someone. These aren't rhetorical questions, they're keys. David's lawsuit is still in limbo. ICE is banking on delay. Bureaucracy wears people down. But maybe, just maybe, what wears them down this time is sunlight. And you can be part of that. Follow independent journalists. Support local organizations like Freedom for Immigrants, which documents these abuses. Push for tech audits of government systems that match names without nuance. Pressure Congress to enact legislation like the Protect Citizens Act, still stalled in subcommittee, which would make it illegal to detain a confirmed U.S. citizen for more than 24 hours without judicial review. This isn't about left or right. It's about right and wrong. And whether a government that takes your liberty, even for 72 hours, should have to answer for it. David still carries that waterproof pouch. He keeps it in his car, just in case. And now, maybe, you'll carry his story. Let's slow it down a little. Take a breath. You've been through something here, not just David's story, but a reflection on your own safety, your own name, your own identity. This wasn't supposed to happen, remember? But it did. And tomorrow it could be someone you know, a friend, a coworker, a neighbor walking the dog. Let your heartbeat settle. Listen to the quiet now. That's the space where change starts after the shock fades, but before we forget. Don't forget. So if you're still with me, share this, forward it, talk about it over dinner, ask questions, press for answers. Because the most dangerous silence is the one that follows injustice unspoken.